traditionally when all the big blockbusters come out, and the only one anyone's talking about right now is Wolverine. And that's probably because it was leaked to the internet before it actually is out in the film. But usually you hear about sequels coming out because sequels are easy. If you like the first one, chances are you'll like the second one. Not always, but chances are. So we'll put some money into that. But you don't have those big blockbusters. You don't have a Transformers. You don't have a Terminator. You don't have a big Julia Roberts.
Is coming out this summer.
So you're missing a lot of the big blockbusters, even concerts. You don't have a whole lot of concerts coming up. Of big names. People that you're dying to see, or you're willing to spend the $85 to stand on the floor for 3 hours.
Tom, can you comment?
Barbara pretty much said what I wanted to say, and that is really, in harsh times, creativity really has to come to the fore because old ways hasn't worked. Germany after World War II, so much good art, avant-garde art came out of Germany between World Wars I and II because England and France and America won, and they sort of sat back on their laurels in a sense, creativity-wise, and Germany had to redefine what they were doing. It didn't work. We lost World War I, and a lot of what 20th century art was defined by, and like Svetlana said, Dada and Expressionism really came out of Germany because they had to redefine who there was. So that's where we are today. We have to, the old ways hasn't worked. The Wall Street hasn't worked, right? Auto industry hasn't worked. So creativity really comes to the fore in harsher times.
Thank you, Tom. And now I think we may turn to our audience. Please, do you have questions? Yes.
You've given us a lot of good information, and I'm very appreciative of that. You've brought us from the present time, and you've taken us back in time to when we had similar economic situations. What my question is as students, what should we be doing in preparation for when this economy turns around and as we enter the job market in this down economy?
Who is going to be involved in the answer?
Bill? I would simply say, as a student, are you talking about specifically the art industry or just in the broad economy in general?
Since we are talking about creative arts, I think that the question more applies there. But in the broader sense, since you're an economist, speak to the broader sense, because that's important.
Because I know almost nothing about the creative arts. And I know what I like, but as far as preparing yourself for the turnaround, there's going to be a big surge of unemployed people and newly graduating students, which would be in a higher number than normal because, as I mentioned, education is an inferior good, which means that when the economy turns south, people get laid off, the opportunity cost of getting educated goes down, and so the demand for becoming educated goes up. So there's a lot of people in the colleges now, and when the economy turns around, whenever that may be, there is going to be a surge of people vying for the small amount of jobs that will at first come available. Let me remind you that this will probably not be a V bottom like that, like a lot of recessions where it goes, hits bottom, and then takes back off very steeply. It'll probably be an L bottom where it goes like that and stays low for a long period of time. So the economy, I feel, is going to stay slow for an extended period of time, although it may improve from here, but there's going to be a lot of college graduates flooding the market looking for these jobs that will slowly come available. The first filter in the hundreds of applications will be determined by a very low-level person in the HR department, somebody who cannot make a personal judgment about your character or the fact that you're a people person or whatever is that is distinguishable about you. The first filter is going to be your transcript. And this person is not going to be able to make discretionary decisions about whether they like you or not. Their boss is going to say, if they don't have a 3.8 or better GPA, round file it. So my first suggestion in preparing for the coming turnaround if we could call it that, whenever that may be, is to make sure that you have a squeaky clean transcript. Okay? Don't get any B's. B's are like D's. C's are like F's. Think of it in that way. Okay? That's the first thing. In addition, do some creative thing. Now, I'm not saying paint a picture or participate in a play, but do something in the community, because the non-academic work that you will be doing, very important. Okay? So those are the two things that I would suggest. Oh, by the way, you will also maybe want to cultivate a relationship with the professor so that they could give you a very good letter of recommendation when you decide to transfer to a university or transfer to graduate school. I mean, it doesn't take an art symposium to tell you this. This is just practical, general knowledge. I just thought I'd have to take the opportunity to remind you.
I hope this includes arts too.
Well, whatever industry you wish to enter. But if I may say, and with all due respect to my artist friends here, I believe that job openings in the arts will be later coming than job openings in the factory, in finance, and in other industries that consumers perceive to be necessities.
Thank you. Yes.
I had a question, Professor O'Donnell. Yeah, I had a question. You made a good point about webisodes and things really starting to explode online. I know about iTunes, a lot of applications are being applied for comic books, anime series. Do you think that's, I mean, and also to add to that, also more films are being filmed with video cameras instead of large production cameras. Do you think it's more going online and electronic and more personal, handheld? You think that's where, so far as like visual entertainment, film, comic books, do you think that's where those of us who are here that are in that business should go?
Well, how many of you in this room listen to music off the computer or download music off the computer? How many of you have watched television episodes on a computer or from a computer? How many of you have watched movies from the computer? I mean, I think there's your answer. I think that, you know, and for theater, that's hard for us because the whole purpose of theater is to do it live.
Yeah.
So I went to a conference in January, and the speaker started with, theater is dying. You people need to get electronically based and suck it up that it's not going to be a live performance. But on the other hand, if you're a die-hard live performance, old school theater person, that's harder to do. But I think that eventually it'll go in that direction where at least we can get some of those newer people whose projects aren't being produced on a stage to run for 3 weeks. It's easy to pay for it for one night to film it and put it up on the internet than it is to have it run for several months and not make any money. The industry, I know the television and film industry is really moving in that direction because you can sit on the bus and pull out your iPhone and watch an episode of whatever your favorite show is for 15 minutes, and it doesn't cost anything. It's all free. So it's going to be a matter of how are they going to be able to produce that and make money off of putting that stuff on the internet. With Netflix was one of the only internet providers that actually made money because people were subscribing to it, and you can watch it on the computer, you can watch it on your phone, you can watch it at home. So they're getting creative with how they're marketing things as well.
Thank you, Tammy.
You're welcome.
More questions? Okay, well, there are some people over there. Would you be so kind to take the mic?
Hi. You said because we know that because of the economy that most people don't really go for this kind of good out, this art good. But we tend to have some psychological effect relating to this. Like, for example, artists, they picture like the benefit of producing all this gold. They picture it in the long run that we see that's why they tend to have more supply right now than the demand. But because we are having a shift in parental and children relationship, most kids right now, they grow up and being isolated and get associated with more internet and computer.